Welcome to another episode of She's Evolving. I'm Elena, your host and a medical endocrinologist. For over 25 years, I've dedicated my career to understanding the intricate dance of hormones, the science of longevity, and the unique ways the female body navigates the passage of time. But today, we aren't just looking at charts or blood test results. Today, we are opening our hearts to a conversation that is often whispered in dressing rooms or shared in hushed tones over coffee. We are talking about the profound, sometimes startling, and ultimately transformative changes our bodies undergo after 40.
And I'm Julia, a clinical psychologist. I've spent my life helping women navigate the complex landscape of their emotions, their self-esteem, and the relationships they hold with themselves. If you've ever looked in the mirror and felt like a stranger was staring back at you, or if you felt a sense of mourning for the body you used to have, I want you to know that you are in exactly the right place. This episode is a sanctuary for that feeling. We're here to remind you that what you're experiencing isn't a failure of your body, it's an evolution.
It's so true, Julia. We live in a culture that treats aging like a disease to be cured or a mistake to be corrected. But in my practice and in my own life, being 52 myself, I've realized that the now what isn't a question of despair. It's a question of curiosity. It's an invitation to get to know this new version of ourselves. Exactly. And before we dive deep into the heart of this topic, we want to invite all of you listening to join our community. If this conversation resonates with you, please follow the She's Evolving podcast and share this episode with a friend, a sister, or a colleague who might need to hear these words today. We're all in this together. You know, Julia, I want to start by being very honest. Even as a doctor who specializes in hormones, I wasn't immune to the shock of it all. I remember a specific morning about 3 years ago. I was getting ready for a medical conference, and I reached for my favorite navy blue blazer, the one that always made me feel powerful and put together. I put it on, and it felt different. My shoulders felt broader, the buttons were strained in a way they never had been before, and when I looked at my reflection, I didn't see the Dr. Elena I was used to. I saw a woman whose skin looked a little more tired, whose waistline had softened. My first instinct wasn't, oh, I'm evolving. My first instinct was, my body has betrayed me.
That word, betrayal, is something I hear in my office almost every single day. Women feel like they played by the rules. They ate the salads, they did the cardio, they took care of everyone else, and yet their bodies decided to change the locks on the doors without giving them the new keys. For me, it happened during my daughter's university graduation. I saw a photo of myself taken from the side, and I spent the next hour obsessing over the crepiness of the skin on my neck. I completely missed the joy of the moment because I was grieving a version of my physical self that was 20 years old. It's a heavy weight to carry, this feeling that we are becoming invisible or less than because our physical shell is shifting.
It really is a form of grief, isn't it? As a physician, I can explain to you exactly why that blazer didn't fit. I can talk about the decline in estrogen, the shift in lipid distribution, and the natural loss of muscle mass called sarcopenia. But knowing the science doesn't always take away the sting. When our estrogen levels begin to fluctuate and eventually drop in our 40s and 50s, it's not just about losing the ability to reproduce. Estrogen is like a master conductor for so many systems in our body. It affects our skin's collagen, our bone density, our sleep patterns, and even how our brain processes joy and calm. When the conductor leaves the stage, the orchestra starts playing a different tune, and it takes time for us to learn how to listen to this new melody. I love that metaphor, Elena.
But for so many women, that new melody sounds like noise at first. Psychologically, our identity is so often tied to our physical appearance and our utility, what we can do for others. When we hit 45 or 50 and our energy levels dip or our reflection changes, it triggers an identity crisis. We ask, if I'm not the young, vibrant, snapped-back version of myself, then who am I? And the world doesn't help. We are bombarded with ads for anti-aging creams, as if aging is something we should be anti. It creates a sense of shame. We feel like we have to hide the hot flashes, hide the weight gain, hide the brain fog.
And that shame is what we need to dismantle. Let's talk about the biology of that weight gain for a moment, because it's the #1 complaint I hear. After 40, our metabolism doesn't just slow down, it changes its priorities. Our bodies become more sensitive to stress. Cortisol, the stress hormone, becomes a much bigger player. If we try to punish our bodies with extreme diets or grueling 2-hour workouts like we did at 25, our 40-something bodies respond by holding onto fat even tighter because they perceive it as a threat. We are literally stressed into staying the same weight. The evolution here is learning that we can't bully our bodies into submission anymore. We have to partner with them. We have to nourish them differently. That partnership is the key to emotional resilience. I often tell my patients that we need to practice radical self-compassion. This isn't just about bubble baths. It's about looking at your changing body and saying, this body has carried me through 4 decades of life. It has survived heartbreaks, perhaps it has grown children, it has built a career, it has climbed mountains, both literal and metaphorical. It deserves my respect, even if it doesn't look the way it used to. When we stop fighting the change, we free up so much mental energy to actually enjoy our lives. And that leads us to some of the questions we've been getting from our listeners. One that comes up constantly is, Elena, Julia, is it true that my libido is just gone forever after 50? Is that part of my life just over?
Oh, that's a big one. And the short answer is, absolutely not. But the long answer is that it looks different. In our 20s, libido is often driven by raw hormones. It's spontaneous. After 40 and 50, sex and desire often become responsive. It's no longer a lightning bolt that hits you out of the blue. It's something that needs to be cultivated. It requires more communication, more intimacy, and more self-knowledge. I've had women tell me that sex in their 50s is actually better because they finally stopped worrying about how they looked in the bedroom and started focusing on how they felt.
From a medical perspective, I always tell women, don't suffer in silence. If there is physical discomfort because of hormonal changes, there are so many options, from local estrogen therapies to herbal supplements and lifestyle adjustments. You don't have to accept loss of drive as a mandatory tax you pay for getting older. It's about adaptation. Maybe you need more time to warm up. Maybe you need to talk to your partner more openly about what works now. It's not a loss, it's a rediscovery. Another question we get is about the invisible woman syndrome. Women saying, I feel like people look right through me now that I'm not young anymore. Elena, how do you handle that feeling? It's a real phenomenon, but I've started to look at it as a superpower. When you're no longer performing for the male gaze or trying to fit into a societal mold of what a pretty young thing looks like, you gain a tremendous amount of freedom. I stopped dyeing my hair last year, Julia. At first, I was terrified. I thought, people will think I've given up. But instead, I felt this incredible surge of authenticity. I wasn't hiding anymore. I was taking up space as exactly who I am. The invisibility isn't about us disappearing. It's about us no longer needing the external validation that used to define us. We become visible to ourselves.
I love that. Visible to ourselves. That is the essence of the work I do. It's about shifting the focus from the exterior to the interior. When we are young, our bodies are often like a rental car. We drive them hard and don't think much about the maintenance. As we age, our body becomes a vintage classic. It requires specific oil, a gentle touch, and a lot of respect. But it has so much more character and story.
Let's talk about the practical side of this evolution. If a woman is listening to this and she feels overwhelmed by the changes, the night sweats, the shifting waistline, the mood swings, where does she start? My advice is always to start with a biological inventory. See a professional who understands perimenopause and menopause. Get your blood work done, check your thyroid, check your vitamin D levels. But most importantly, stop comparing your current chapter 5 to someone else's chapter 2. And my psychological advice is to start a gratitude dialogue with your body. Every night before you go to sleep, find one thing your body did for you today that had nothing to do with how it looks. Did it allow you to walk through a park? Did it give you the breath to speak to a friend? Did it help you cook a meal? We have to rewire the brain to see the body as an ally again. We are nearing the end of our time today, but this is just the beginning of the conversation. I want to leave you with this thought. Your body is not a static object. It is a living, breathing process. It was meant to change. Just as the seasons change, moving from the vibrant growth of spring to the heat of summer and the rich harvest of autumn, our bodies have their own seasons. Autumn is not a loss of summer. It is the time when the colors are the most intense and the roots grow the deepest.
That is so beautiful, Elena. To all the women listening, you are not losing your beauty, you are deepening it. You are not losing your edge, you are gaining wisdom. You are not becoming less, you are becoming more of who you are always meant to be. This transition is a bridge, not a dead end, and you are walking across it with millions of other women who are right there with you. Thank you for being with us today on She's Evolving. Remember, your body isn't failing you. It's inviting you to a deeper level of care. It's asking you to listen, to adapt, and to evolve. If you found comfort in today's episode, please subscribe and leave us a review. It helps other women find this community of support. And please, share this with someone you love. Maybe a friend who's struggling with her reflection today, or a sister who feels a bit lost in the fog of her 40s. Let's keep this conversation going. You are vibrant, you are evolving, and you are most certainly not alone. Until next time, take care of your body, nourish your soul, and keep evolving. We'll see you in the next episode. You know, Julia, we can't talk about the body changing without talking about the environment it lives in. So many of us in our late 40s and 50s are part of the sandwich generation. We are caring for aging parents while still guiding our children, or even our adult children, through their lives. This creates a chronic level of stress that our bodies feel on a cellular level. Absolutely. And that stress manifests physically. It's not just in your head. When we are constantly in fight or flight mode, our adrenal glands are working overtime. This leads to that specific type of fatigue where you feel tired but wired. You're exhausted all day, but when your head hits the pillow at 11 p.m., your brain starts racing. This is where the psychological and the biological truly meet.
Exactly. And as an endocrinologist, I see how this chronic cortisol elevation suppresses our other hormones. It makes the menopausal transition so much harder. If we don't address the stress, no amount of hormone replacement or perfect dieting will fix the way we feel. We have to give ourselves permission to say no. We have to give ourselves permission to rest. In our 20s, rest was a luxury. In our 50s, rest is a medical necessity. It's also a boundary issue. Many women have spent their whole lives being the fixers. Their identity is built on being the one who has all the answers and does all the work. When their body starts demanding rest through fatigue or even physical pain, they feel guilty. They feel like they are failing their families. But I tell them, your body is giving you a boundary because you won't set one yourself. Learning to listen to those physical cues is a huge part of the evolution we're talking about. I remember a patient of mine, Sarah. She was 54, running a company and caring for her mother who had Alzheimer's. She came to me because she was gaining weight and couldn't sleep. She wanted a magic pill. I looked at her and said, "Sarah, your body is in survival mode. It's holding on to every calorie because it thinks you're in a war zone." We didn't start with medication. We started with 15 minutes of silence every morning and a commitment to stop checking emails after 7 p.m. 3 months later, her hormone problems had improved significantly. That's such a powerful example. It shows that our bodies are constantly communicating with us. The changes we see, the wrinkles, the weight, the gray hair, they are just the surface. Underneath is a complex system trying to find balance in a new stage of life. If we can approach these changes with curiosity instead of judgment, everything shifts. Instead of asking, "Why is my skin sagging?" we can ask, "What does my body need right now to feel supported?" And sometimes what it needs is just to be seen and accepted. I think about the concept of kintsugi, the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold. The cracks aren't hidden, they are highlighted. They make the piece more beautiful and more valuable because they represent its history and its resilience. That is what our bodies are after 40. We are kintsugi. Our cracks, our stretch marks, our scars, our laugh lines, they are the gold. I love that image. It's the perfect way to wrap up our thoughts for today. We aren't trying to return to a perfect, unblemished state. We are evolving into something more complex, more durable, and more precious. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Your journey is unique, but you are walking a path that has been trodden by billions of wise women before you. Trust your body. It knows how to evolve. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember, you are exactly where you need to be. We'll talk to you soon on She's Evolving. Goodbye for now. Take care. You know, Julia, as we dive deeper into these myths, there's one that I hear almost every single day in my office, and it's perhaps the most heartbreaking one. Women come to me and say, Elena, I feel like my body has become a stranger, and because of that, I've lost my spark. I've lost my libido, and I guess that part of my life is just over. It's this idea that after 40 or 50, our sexual selves go into retirement.
Oh, Elena, that resonates so much with what I see in therapy. There is this pervasive social narrative that links desirability and sexual vitality exclusively to youth. So when the physical markers of youth start to shift, when the skin softens or the weight redistributes, many women internalize the idea that they are no longer sexual beings. They preemptively shut down that part of themselves out of a sense of shame or a feeling of what's the point? But the truth is, the mind is the largest sex organ we have.
Exactly. And from a medical perspective, yes, the drop in estrogen can lead to physical changes like vaginal dryness or a change in how quickly we become aroused. But these are physiological hurdles, not a dead end. We have local treatments, we have hormone replacement therapies, and we have lifestyle adjustments that work wonders. However, if a woman believes she shouldn't feel desire anymore, no amount of cream or pill is going to fix the psychological barrier. We have to address the why behind the physical how.
That's the key. I often tell my clients that intimacy after 40 isn't about reclaiming the passion of your 20s. It's about discovering a new, deeper kind of intimacy. It's more intentional. It's less about performance or meeting a societal standard of hotness, and more about connection, sensation, and safety within your own skin. When you stop fighting your body and start listening to what it needs now, maybe more touch, more communication, more time, the experience can actually become much more fulfilling than it ever was in our younger years.
I love that. More intentional. That applies to everything we're talking about today. It's like exercise. In our 20s, many of us exercise to look good or to punish ourselves for what we ate. After 40, movement has to change its soul. It becomes about bone density, about cardiovascular health, about keeping our joints lubricated so we can keep traveling, dancing, and playing with our grandkids or pets. It's moving because we love our bodies, not because we hate them. And that shift from punishment to nourishment is the ultimate evolution. It's moving from an external locus of control, what will people think of me, to an internal one. How do I feel inside? I see women who, for the first time in their lives, are setting boundaries. They're saying no to things that drain them and yes to things that fuel them. That menopause rage people joke about, sometimes I think it's just the clarity of a woman who no longer has the patience for things that don't serve her. I call it the great unmasking. We spent decades wearing masks of the perfect daughter, the perfect mother, the perfect employee. Then the hormones shift, the brain chemistry changes, and suddenly the mask doesn't fit anymore. It's uncomfortable, yes. It can feel like a crisis. But on the other side of that discomfort is the most authentic version of yourself. It's a rebirth, really. But like any birth, there's labor involved. There's the labor of grieving the former self. I think we need to give ourselves permission to mourn the body we had at 25. It's okay to look at an old photo and feel a pang of nostalgia, but we can't stay in that mourning. We have to walk through it to reach the acceptance of the woman in the mirror today. She has stories in her wrinkles. She has wisdom in her softer curves. She is a survivor and a creator. She is. And as we start to wrap up this conversation, I want to remind everyone listening that evolution doesn't mean perfection. It means progress. It means adapting to the environment you are in now. If your environment is a body that needs more sleep, a different diet, or more grace, give it those things. You aren't breaking down. You are recalibrating for a long, beautiful second act.
That is so powerful, Elena. My final thought for our listeners today is this. Look at your body not as a project to be fixed, but as a home to be lived in. You wouldn't tear down a beautiful, historic house just because the plumbing needs an update or the paint is peeling. You would renovate it with love, honoring its history while making it comfortable for the years ahead. Treat yourself with that same reverence.
Beautifully said, Julia. To everyone listening, thank you for joining us in this space. Your journey is unique, but you are never alone. This transition is a bridge, not a cliff. If this conversation touched you or made you feel a little more seen today, please share it with a friend. We grow stronger when we share our stories and realize that we are all evolving together. This was She's Evolving. I'm Elena. And I'm Julia. Take care of your heart, your mind, and that wonderful changing body of yours. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep evolving.